Hello and welcome. My name is Whitney Clark. I am so thankful and excited that you guys are here with us today. Going to jump right in. You've been following the local elections here in the city of Detroit, and I've been committed to making sure that we understand exactly what's taking place here in the city of Detroit. We are getting ready for what seems to be a pretty historic mayor's race here this fall in November. And so let's keep on ticking. I want to keep you up to date with what's going on now. We know at this point that the mayor's race is going to come down to two people. It's going to come down to Pastor Kinlock, Solomon Kinlock, Triumph Church, 40,000 members, 7 locations in the Metro Detroit area, if I'm not mistaken, at least 7 locations and at least 9 services. Mega church. On the bottom of the list of largest churches in the country, but he's on the list of the largest churches in the country. So, you know what I mean? It's like being 89 on the top 100, players in the history of whatever league. It's like, okay, I'm at the bottom of the greatest of all time. And so that's a big deal. But you got Mary Sheffield. She's the council president, homegrown, uh, you know, uh, child of just civil rights activists. Some would say icons. And so very historic family, a big name. And quite frankly, has been, one could argue, kind of raised and reared for this role. I, I, you can't. She's got the potential, whatever the case may be. Um, Imagine what Mary Sheffield would be after mayor. Like, if let's say she goes on to be mayor for 12 years, what would she do after that? It's hard to imagine what she'd do, and I say that because it feels as though her entire life's work has been, and that's not to put a ceiling on her, but what I'm saying is that she's this is her position. This is her race to lose, and that's evident by the amount of votes that she got the other now the other night. Let me say this as well. Didn't have an opportunity to say it already. Congratulations to Miss Renata Miller and Mr. Willie Burton. Those were the two highest vote getters in the race that I was running in. If you're curious about how that turned out, Tuesday night was not our night, but we are confident that we were able to engage the constituent in a way that puts something new on their mind. And that's, if nothing else, what we have to do when we occupy these spaces is allow people to see what the real possibilities are and what power we really have when we come together. And so, congratulations to them. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how that race shapes out. Now, as this race takes place here in the city of Detroit for the mayor, one of the questions that I'm asking myself is who will emerge as Sheffield's surrogates. And I'll say this because I'm about to go to a video of two very interesting talking heads from the city of Detroit. Well respected, great names. You'll see in just a moment. But they are obviously going for Kinlock. They want Kinlock to win. And they're using their platforms. They're using their, yeah, their platform, their influence to speak truth to power. In doing so, they are pushing a narrative. You know, this is all about storytelling. This is all about messaging. And so as that narrative and that story begins to really, because now we've gone from 9 or 7 to 2, right? And so now it's getting serious. And so I'm asking, who are the surrogates for Mary Sheffield? Where, when are they going to emerge? And what are we going to see be her talking points as it pertains to some of the weaknesses that we know she has? And she's got interesting weaknesses. What I've concluded is that the weaknesses that Mary Sheffield has have nothing to do with her. Uh, well, little to do, I should say, because everything matters when we're talking about politics. You know what I mean? Whether you're married or not matters. Whether you've got children or not matters. Whether you went to school, what school, everything matters. And so I won't say nothing matters, or I won't say that something does not matter. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is that whenever you hear people begin to criticize Mary, you'll hear things like she's not personable, or she's fake, or something. I've certainly heard that. Um, you know what I mean? And so I guess what I'm saying is the things that she's been criticized on to date have not necessarily been things that, if you're looking with a unbiased perspective, you won't say the attributes that she lacks are the things that will keep her from being effective in her role, right? You don't have to be chummy to be a good mayor. You don't have to be a people person necessarily to be effective at a job like mayor. Now, if you're not a people person, you probably shouldn't be. And that's not to say this is true. I'm just giving an example. If you're not a people person, maybe you shouldn't be a greeter. You shouldn't be a hostess, or you shouldn't be a therapist or a pastor, right? Or yeah, I think a greeter might be the best example. Someone who literally comes in contact with people, right? As a job, as the profession. Um, and so the criticism that we see, or that we've seen to date, because we believe that more things are going to come out, but the criticism that we've seen to date have not been things that are directly connected to what she'll need, we believe, to be effective. Nevertheless, the talking heads have emerged, and we're about to get ready to see what their line of attack is. Two very fascinating individuals, and I just want to see. I want to see where they are. I saw Sam posted on social media the other day, or yesterday, or whenever, that this interview was forthcoming, and I said to myself, I definitely want to see what these two old buzzards are talking about. And then when I saw that it was out, I said, well, let me let me react to it. Let me not watch it. Let me give an honest assessment while we're talking about all these different things. Because again, we're asking who the surrogates are, and we're analyzing or psychoanalyzing the criticism that is beginning to emerge, and trying to pick holes through it and see what's going on. And the reason that we're taking this stance, quite frankly, at this point, is because the surrogates have not emerged. And so let's play devil's advocate. Even though she is a front runner, even though it doesn't seem as though she would need a surrogate, because again, the win that she had the other night was so definitive, let's do it anyway. Let's have some fun. Let's see what they're saying, and let's see what the defense would be, or what the response would be, if there is any, because we're not going to go necessarily against fair criticism, because I'm not on anybody's staff. So if some fair criticism comes, it comes, and we'll take it as it comes. But I've got a funny feeling and a sneaking suspicion that there'll be other criticism, and there'll be at least what we've seen in the past is, kind of tying Mary to all of the downsides of Duggan's tenure. Let's see what we got here.
Clay Thompson, I mean, it's always great when you're doing.
The bottom of the polls.
I'm
Were you
sorry, we having
surprised
some
in a field of 9 candidates?
technical stuff. Now,
Well,
what we
first of
missed
all,
here,
let's
they're still
understand
getting into it.
that one of those candidates, a former state rep and a Detroit councilman, uh, Fred Durhal, has held office. Uh, Solomon Kentlock has never held an elective office, never ran for anything. I'm surprised that Solomon Kinlock made it through the primary and is one of the.
And I think that's okay. So, bam. Here comes the first set of narrative shaping that you'll see from the Kinlock team. They're going to paint or point to the fact that he has never held office and that he came from the outside or from the bottom and got all the way up to 2, instead of looking at the vast numerical difference in actual votes cast for Sheffield versus Kinlock, which is fine. But let's be realistic here. Today being Thursday, and the election having taken place a couple days ago, obviously, I think the fair question still is, how the heck did she win in such a large margin, right? Because quite frankly, before this, that's what we said we'd be looking at, is the margin of victory. But this seems like the race is already over. Now, of course, people have got to work until November. It's okay. Put it in the trash. Be careful with the next one. So it's obvious that, we've got to make a story. We've got to find the lane. So again, they're getting ready to root for him. And so you don't expect them to say, oh, he lost so miserably and he doesn't have a shot. Podcast over, right? But he got beat bad. This guy got beat. Mary wiped the floor. And now here's the thing. As far as, and I guess I'm saying this not so much for Mary, but don't dismiss the other candidates by saying, oh, he beat all these people. It's like, we knew that this was a 2 or 3 horse race. We already knew that. And people were running because they have the right to do so. But we didn't know, no one ever thought that Fred would win. We knew that he could win. Anybody in the West could win. But no one thought that Fred was actually going to be the next mayor. And it doesn't take anything away from the work that was done. This is largely a popularity contest. We are all well aware of that. We are all well aware of Okay, so what's going on right now is I have a feed coming back into my ear, and now I don't know the English language. But what I'm saying is that we all felt that this would be Mary, Kinlock, maybe Jenkins, and then for a split second, we were thinking maybe Todd could sneak in and do something. And quite frankly, that's the way the voting fell, right? First, second, third, and fourth was Mary with a large margin, Kinlock, Jenkins, and Todd at number 4. Let's see where we're getting into.
2 finalists for the position of mayor of Detroit. I believe that's quite an accomplishment, given that when Solomon Kinlock first announced, his standing in the polls was negligible.
Yeah. And I think that's what several people have been saying, that to have someone who started from the bottom and never ran for political office. You had Police Chief James Craig, former Police Chief James Craig. You have Fred Duhall. You have Chantel Jenkins, former president of the city council, known political entities. And for him to rise to number 2, shows the political prowess or the promise that it has.
Oh, lots of promise. As a matter of fact, when you really look,
it doesn't matter if you come in second. If you come in second and the first place winner laughed everybody. It does, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean anything. And so, again, as you, I'd hate to be a Kinlock surrogate. Now, I could do it because I can do it, right? I can I know what Kinlock's strengths are, or at least the legitimate things that you can continue to pound that can really reshape the narrative. But at the end of the day, you get no credit for being number 2 because of the margin of success. Let's be clear. You don't get credit for being number 2 unless you come closer to number 1. But it's like if we're running a 40 and I run a 4.4 and you run a 10.2 and the next person runs a 10.5, then nope, you guys just suck. You know what I mean? This wasn't a competitive race. It was competitive if Mary wasn't in the race. And so I don't give you any credit for coming in second because she still has such a great margin. I believe I heard someone say that she got more votes than everyone else combined, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And if she didn't, she had to have gotten close. So point number 1 not taken, quite frankly.
And you understand Solomon Kinloch's background. Raised amidst abject poverty in one of the toughest cities in America, Detroit. When you look at his family background.
I want to go to this comment just because I can. And I want to thank this brother. Very well thought out young man. Very, how can I put it? What's the word? I heard somebody use this word the other day. Very, gosh, it's like parallel to cautious. He just crosses every T and dots every guy, and he voted for me the other day, and so that means I know you've been following this stuff very closely, and so to have your support means a great deal. And he says that, well, that's profane. Maybe I shouldn't have put that on there. Nevertheless, as I mentioned before, these gentlemen that we're listening to have names that are that reverberate throughout the city streets, if you know what I mean. Let's listen a little bit more here. Now they're talking about the background of Kinloch, and they're saying, and I get it. I understand, because I was listening to the Ryan Clark versus Cam Newton debate the other day, and Ryan Clark put it this way as well. He was like, Cam says I've only been an all-star, all-pro, blah, 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 so many times. My perspective is that I was undrafted and and I worked up there. And so I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. Context is a little bit different, though, because this is head-to-head. You see what I'm saying? This is head-to-head. This isn't team and team comparison. This is me versus you. And so, yes, examining what Pastor Kinloch did against the odds is awesome. I think that's great. For you to see what this pastor did, this man of God did, against the odds that they are speaking of, yes. But that doesn't close the margin of victory, my brother. I'm talking about Miss Sheffield. Okay. No, I'm not going to make this about me. This story is bigger than myself. But I will give myself this honorable mention. Had I got on the ballot as a write-in candidate, the race would have already been over. If I would have been able to go from write-in to more votes than Renata, more votes than Willie Burton, who's been on the police commissioner board for 12 years, if I would have been able to do that, then that would have signified that it's over. And I'm asking, did Mary have this type of success? Did she have this type of win that says all she's got to do is stay upright and not do anything crazy? Which, by the way, I don't get the vibe that she will. She's been laser focused, extremely consistent. And let me tell you something about a consistent person. And my brother that's watching can attest to this. I don't have to agree with you if you're consistent. You know what I mean? Some of the people that I've done the best work with admitted that I wasn't their forte, but they were able to work with me because they knew what to expect. Uh-oh. And so all this about, personality or whether you like her or don't like her, there is something to being consistent. Let me tell you what's going on with the stock market. They want consistency. Whether you're going to bring all the jobs back or whether you're going to let them stay where they are. We just want to know what you're going to do so we can plan accordingly. Mary has been extremely consistent, and she's done nothing that makes me think she's going to change that and blow this lead. And so, again, to point to the fact that Kinloch has climbed to 2 from the church, amen. God is good. And quite frankly, because of the way that the name recognition game works in this city, he may have been the only person that can beat her. He may be the only one who can even do it. And so for that, I'm happy he won. Because I felt like Kinloch winning would have been the best way to avoid what I think is about to happen, a landslide. I thought he would have been the best defense against it. Listen, I'm not related to either of them. I just wanted you want to see the Super Bowl come down to the last drive. Even if you're an Eagles fan, you don't want to turn the game on in the second quarter and the Eagles are up by 25. It's like, what do you have to look forward to? Right? We would have liked a close race so that we'd all be glued to our seats from now until November. But it doesn't look like we're going to get that. And our best chance at getting that didn't come close. And so these guys are going to have to try to make it something, and I don't think that they're going to be able to. I really, really don't think they're going to be able to. Let's see here. I want to try to switch this cord. Is this audio low? I feel like the audio is low on this joint. Let's see.
His mother, coming out of the deep south again, had to scuffle just to make ends meet. I believe she may have even been a sharecropper or something along that line. I'll have to look that back.
Dillon County, South Carolina, yeah.
Yes. I mean, when you look at this guy's background, Solomon Kinloch, you see really an American success story overcoming all odds to pastor one of the largest and most productive churches in America, and he makes.
And I think that's fair to mention, and we've got to be careful with this. What he's accomplished as a pastor is phenomenal. To God be the glory. I think it's an amazing thing. And you know what? Because this city is the way that it is, I wonder what it's going to be like for him as a pastor moving forward. But, he's never had his hand out in the past. I mean, phenomenal pastor. Let's listen a little bit more.
Said a point to give back to the community, not in a symbolic way, not for a cheap headline, because he honestly feels it's the right thing to do. I've observed this. Now, I'm not a member of the church. Matter of fact, I'm one that needs a lot of prayer himself, that being me. But I can tell you one thing about the Solomon Kinloch I've met and participated in forums over the years with. This is one of the most gifted intellectually guys that we could have willing to take on the tough job of being mayor of Detroit. It's a tough job, thankless position.
What makes him gifted intellectually? And see, here's the thing. That's not me saying he's not gifted. I'm saying articulate what makes him gifted in a way that we are certain will be good as mayor. You got to connect the dots. You got to connect the dots for us. Because as it pertains to the issues that have been raised in this cycle, this election cycle, I don't think anybody, including Mary Sheffield, has spoke to the issues with their policy in a way that will satisfy the curiosity of those who are looking, to the future. And so let's not say this is that. And I think that it is a long shot to ask everyone to assume that being a great pastor, which he is, to being a great mayor in the time that we are foreseeing. No. You need to make that clear with your policy and with your agenda, because we are not 100% certain that your skills will translate, particularly when we begin to talk about the climate that we know we're about to go into. So miss me with it, Sam. It's a good try, Sam Riddle, but it's not. And Sam's. You know, these guys guessed wrong. First of all, and I don't mind saying that. But you know, I don't know. We'll listen.
And I believe that if he keeps coming at that position of mayor, the current numbers will mean nothing as he starts to build a base and create what I refer to as a drumbeat. The turnout in that election was something like 16 or maybe 17%. 16%,
yeah.
And when you look at that, that means that 84% of the eligible voters in Detroit did not vote. What that tells me is that they felt there was nothing to vote for. People consciously do not vote in Detroit. It's not apathy. It's a conscious decision people make.
Theory. Political theory. I love it. And I'm not saying that he's right or wrong. I think what you hear them about to jump into, and maybe I should let them speak for themselves, but what you hear them about to say is like, all the people that did not vote in the primary that are going to vote in the election are going to vote for him, Kinloch being him. And it's like, you know, with that type of luck, just play the lottery. Don't be a Kinloch surrogate. Play the lottery and hit it big. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The increase of people that are going to vote in the general that don't vote in, it's not going to be an influx of people 100% for Mary. Come on, man. So the only way that you're going to beat Mary Sheffield is with policy. And it's got to be policy. I mean, you've got to have a perfect storm to beat Mary Sheffield. You've got to have policy. You've got to have someone who can communicate that policy. Let me tell you what Kinloch does a lot of, and I appreciate it. He does a lot of church talk, and I am a minister, and so you will never hear me say church talk is a bad thing. We're talking context, right? You know, I love this example. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, being risque and flirting. You know what I mean? Hey, nothing wrong. I got a wife. I'm a married man. There's nothing wrong with flirting. But guess what? Flirting first thing in the morning in the jail is a whole different thing, right? It insinuates all that, right? Context is important. And so you've got to have policy, and you've got to have policy that you can communicate. Watch this, in a way that at least in some moments, in some places, does not feel like you're talking to a church audience. Because this is still Detroit. You got people that LGBT. You got people that are atheists. So again, I don't see this ground being made up. Because the parts of his platform that should have already been crystal clear, I think he's going to spend the next 30 to 35, 40 days trying to find that messaging, and then the election is going to be too soon after that. And the lead is too wide, it's too vast. And if you're counting on the people that did not vote in the primary to vote 199, 95, 96, 92, 98, 99, an 89% just for Kinlock, then you're what I call a fool. And I need to borrow some money. A lot of money. Yeah, not going to happen unless her surrogates and her talking heads can create a narrative that resonates with people. Because I thought his anti-establishment, it's time for the neighborhoods, we're going to do this ourselves. I thought that messaging was going to be a thing that would make the election closer, at least in the primary. But it seems as though the notion that has won is we've had success, we can take it further. That's Mary's position. We've had success, and I have collected a case study as to why it hasn't worked in the areas it hasn't worked in, and I believe we can make some progress on the areas that have otherwise been missed, versus change of demeanor, change, new sheriff in town. We may not have the continuity that we had. Oh, and I have not clearly articulated the new agenda that's going to create the growth that we can replace as a result of giving the middle finger to the rich people. You see how that works? And when you say you're going to do this to these people, and when you posture and position yourself as if you're going to kick those guys out, please, hey man, you talking about freeing the people, please come and do it. But you got to have some ideas that are going to replace the money, the growth, the movement, the motion that we have been seeing. And that, my friends, has not been articulated. The surrogates are only talking about how far he's come. They're only talking about the odds that he's beat. They're only talking about how great of a pastor he is. And he is a great pastor. Listen, every time you hear me mention Pastor Kinlock as a pastor, the man of God in me makes me acknowledge how great of a man of God he is. He's a great pastor. That means nothing. That means nothing to us when we're deciding who the mayor is going to be. And if you know what the days ahead are going to, if you've got an idea of what the days ahead are going to look like, then you also have an idea of what type of mayor we need. And even if Mary is not ideally what you want, she's much closer, obviously, to what we'll need in order to continue this success or not take steps back. See, because you can try to go for too much too fast and end up with nothing. I remember this story of a gentleman who was getting ready to sell his app to Apple, and they offered him $375, and he got into the meeting with Cook, whatever the gentleman's name is, Tom Cook, whatever. And Tom was looking at it, blah, 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 getting ready to, I guess, sign on the dotted line. It's like, what, man? We said $375. How much did we say we were going to buy for this? How much did we say we're going to pay for this app? And the guy said, his assistant said $375. I'm not paying $375 for this. We'll give you $280. And don't get me wrong on the numbers, but he didn't give the guy what the guy came to the meeting to get. And I believe it was $375 million. And the gentleman, the CEO of Apple, was like, we're not paying that. We'll do $280. And he was like, well, I came here for $375, and and we said we had a deal for $375. And then the guy, the CEO of Apple, looks back at the gentleman who's, doing the deal, and he says, and you can go look this story up. He says, well, I want you to go back and tell your business partners that your app doesn't work in the Apple Play Store anymore. He's like, oh. 280 will work. So that happens in real life, in the world, in the business world. You can think you're going to do this and get 375. And if you don't have the discernment, if you don't have the understanding, if you don't know what's going on, there is a chance, and we're not mad at you for betting on the people, but there is still a chance that you can end up with nothing. Or rather, far less than what you told people you were going to get. And so I think Mayor Kinloch during this time is going to be risky for voters. It's going to be risky because the things that he's talking about are things that we could use. You can always run on ending corruption. You can always run on elevating people's voices more. We need those things. But the how to and the plan for growth that matches the intensity in which you are saying that you're going to cut off the spigot of the other people, that it doesn't compute. And what that equates to is a risk that voters may not be able to take, especially when you combine it with talking heads who are past their prime, who have established themselves as, the Grinch. Yeah. So I guess we've talked for a few minutes. We'll jump into this. I'll look into this a little bit more and respond to specific clips, but the match is set. The match is set. What story will prevail? What narrative will prevail? And can Kinloch present a platform that compels people or convinces the voter that there will still be motion, there will still be life and activity, even if there is a big change in who is doing the business, right? You can hire a head. We've seen some head coaches come into the NFL and college in the last couple years, and the record of the team shoots up. Bam. What was that? The Detroit Pistons just 2 years ago were like one of the worst teams in the league, right? Bam. Playoff berth, a big, great postseason for the Pistons, right? But then you also got the coach before him comes in maybe a year or 2, 3, and it goes just the opposite. And with the turn of events that we can see, a bad mayor or a miscalculated mayor that has alienated the people who have the money to keep things afloat. You combine that with one catastrophe, one Southwest pipe bursting. You combine that with, things that just happen. It's unfortunate. It should never happen, but it happens in big cities that are poorly run. People freeze to death. Rogue police officer who shouldn't have a badge, shoots a citizen, an unarmed man. Any of these type of catastrophes can take a city from bad to worse. And so the match is set. It's going to be Kinloch. It's going to be Mary Sheffield. And at this point, it doesn't look like much of a match, but the match is set. Who are you going to pick? What narrative will prevail? Do you believe that we can and should continue the success and work both day and night to figure out how to bring success to the places that were otherwise forgotten? Or should we start from scratch and jeopardize the continuity, the success, the motion? And should we take that bet as constituents without someone articulating what the plan for it is. See, because he's got political prowess and he's so intellectual. And I don't doubt that he is behind the pulpit. But we're talking policy. We're talking, how do you get these rich people to do what it doesn't seem like they want to do without putting a bad taste in their mouth, without, you know what I mean? And so the match is set.